So when I was 15 years old, I had the closest thing to what a lot of people would consider to be a girlfriend. My first girlfriend, to be exact. It's funny because if she was watching this video right now, she would probably be pretty confused because she probably didn't see it that way. And I recognize that the story that I'm about to tell you isn't really going to paint me in the best light. Given that this is my second video, pretty risky. But I also recognize that I promise you that I'll be vulnerable and open and share my story in a way that doesn't hold back. So you're probably gonna listen to this and think, damn, Batman could not have beaten this information out of me. But here we are. I also recognize that there is an opportunity here for a lot of folks to learn. And I realize that the mistakes that I made actually taught me so much that they shaped how I've developed my character throughout the past 11 years now. So the story takes place back in 2014. I'm 15 years old, I'm a sophomore in high school, and I went to a pretty small private Catholic high school where everyone kind of knew everyone. You could probably imagine what the social dynamic was like there. And I was interested in this girl who wasn't necessarily in the friend group that I hung out with pretty frequently. So this actually kind of worked out to my advantage because I was interested in her. I didn't really tell anyone, and it kind of worked out that didn't really blow up my spot. I was able to be a little bit more strategic. Long story short, I was able to get one of her friends to plug me into the fact that she was also feeling me too. So I ended up hollering at her, ended up getting her Snapchat, and back in the day, Snapchat was in its prime. I don't know what it is now, but that was the primary mode of communication for anyone above the age of like 13. Got a Snapchat, and we were communicating pretty much every day. And over the course of a couple months, which in the mind of a 15-year-old feels like multiple years, I feel like I was really starting to like her. Beyond the fact that I was attracted to her, we had great conversation. It felt like the first time that a girl was really as into me as I was into her. It was the first time that I can kind of see myself actually getting into some kind of relationship. But I also didn't tell my friends about this. In the initial months, the only thing that was influencing my attraction to her was literally the interactions that I had with her. But eventually, one of the girls in her friend group told someone in my friend group that we had a little situation going on, that we were boyfriend and girlfriend. And mind you, I had never really asked her to be my girlfriend at this point, but I feel like the kind of energy that I was bringing in my mind, we were married. I thought this was going to be the mother of my children. But of course, throughout this entire process, I was very much kind of drifting. I was going with the flow. And that actually ended up working against me. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But ultimately, once my friends kind of found out that I was having a thing with this girl, they kind of chastised me for it. They didn't see her to be as attractive as I thought her to be. And the most sinister thing happened. I, for the first time, was really peer pressured. Before being influenced by any of their opinions, I thought this girl was super attractive, and I, again, really enjoyed the time that we spent together. But I think after hearing their opinions, I started to question my own. And that's not to say that their opinions were invalid by any means, or that my opinion was invalid either, but I started to weigh their opinion more than my own. And I started to treat her differently. I think she ultimately sort of picked up on this, and because I was sort of drifting, as I mentioned, going with the flow, and she could tell that I wasn't really serious about her, and my demeanor towards her changed. She effectively dumped me, and honestly, I don't even really blame her. So she ended up getting into a relationship with another guy. I was kind of sitting on the sidelines. For lack of a better term, I had no hopes for a little while, and that sort of constituted a chunk of my high school experience. So why do I tell you this story? There are a few lessons that I want you to take away from this, starting with number one. Critical thinking is such a core skill, and you won't see how well you can critically think until you have an opinion that opposes yours. You have to be able to think critically and value your own opinion first. The people that are presenting these opposing viewpoints don't necessarily have the same experience as you. And especially when it comes down to something that's going to affect you and you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of them, you really have to be able to think about how the evidence that you have presented in front of you will impact the decisions that you make. And I'm sure if you're an overthinker, that's something that you consider all the time. But I encourage you not to put too much stock and value into an opinion of someone who doesn't necessarily necessarily have all the context. And that kind of leads me into my second point. None of my friends who were telling me this and discouraging me from seeing this girl had girlfriends at the time. So really be careful about who you're taking advice from. That's not to say that people who don't go through an experience can't have an opinion on something, and that's not to say that those opinions might not be valid. But in order to make decisions that are actually evidence-based, you should probably put more weight and value into people who have actually gone through something. And even with that, your opinion is the one that matters at the end of the day, because you're gonna have to deal with the repercussions. The last point that I wanted to make was kind of tied to this idea of drifting. If you've ever read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, this concept of drifting comes up, and it essentially refers to this idea where you're not taking life by the neck. You're not taking control of the things that you have control over and moving with purpose. And throughout this sort of situationship, relationship, first teenage fling that I went through, I had no intention, I had no purpose, I didn't really know what I was doing. And granted, that's not too much more than you can expect from a 15-year-old, right? But I think one of the things that I was able to take away from that situation was the fact that I should control what I can control and move with a little bit more intention. Again, not to say that I was going to marry this girl at 15 years old, even though in my mind I thought we were, but with everything in life, especially when you go into adulthood and you do have control over a lot of these aspects of your life, it's essential that you actually don't drift and move with a little bit of purpose. Move with the end in mind, move with a goal, work backwards and plan out your individual steps. So you might be wondering why you should even listen to me. And granted, you really don't have to, but I'll leave you with this. I've actually implemented a lot of these lessons in my life today, 11 years later. I've personally gotten to a place where I can think critically, where I've made decisions where I might get a lot of pushback for them. I moved from my hometown, I pursued opportunities that didn't make sense to a lot of people, and I made decisions to take my health and mindset seriously in a way that opposed the viewpoints of the people that were closest to me. And I've seen how making those decisions, even though they were uncomfortable, improved my life. And I'm strongly encouraging you to do the same. So again, at the end of the day, the choice is yours, and it always will be yours. I just don't want you to go through the same mistakes that I did that left me with no hose for 2 years throughout my high school experience. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Sway, and I'm here to help chronic overthinkers overcome their bad habits, unhealthy perspectives, and toxic relationships by sharing my story and my perspective. You can follow me on all socials here, and I'll see you in the next video.